Comrade Sizwe, good morning, colleagues and comrades. The CEC reflected and noted this Central Executive Committee meeting that took place on the eve of our 35th anniversary on the 1st of December 2020. From its very founding, the Federation committed itself to unite all workers, fight oppression and economic exploitation, and connect trade union struggles with the community struggles. As we mark this milestone, we shall continue to be a leading agent of the militant and progressive trade unionism in South Africa, and also embrace working class internationalism going forward. It is not surprising that our founding president, Elijah Bahai, was conferred with the honorary doctorate by the UNISA. Organizationally, on the state of the Federation, the Central Executive Committee, in its assessment of the work done since the beginning of the year 2020, has acknowledged that despite difficult challenges facing the workers across the board, the Federation remains stable under the circumstances. On the members first, the meeting noted that progress has been registered so far, in particular in strengthening organizational machinery to place our members at the center of everything we do as mandated by our 13th COSATU National Congress. However, we recognize and note that alongside the solid advances that we are making are some shortcomings and challenges that still remain to be overcome in the coming year and beyond. Therefore, in addition to the identifying new tasks, this shall constitute part and parcel of our new program. 2021 year of the local, the CEC resolved to declare year 2021 as the year of the local that will focus on building the organization at the workplace level. We shall use our ongoing recruitment campaign to enter this enormous task of building organization on the ground. This means that the Federation and its union will focus on waging real struggles at the workplace level. We shall be focused on rebuilding our locals to reflect the structural economic changes that is also associated with the changing workplace organization and mode of work. On solidarity and mass mobilization, the Federation shall introduce a systematic program on ideological and organizational education and training. We will also deepen a mass mobilization program geared at responding to unfolding economic crisis involving progressive mass-based organization in particular and progressive civil society structures in general. Both the global capitalist crisis and COVID-19 expose the crisis of capitalism. Therefore, our task is to unite the working class as a whole. The CEC encourage all COSATU unions to commit themselves to play solidarity with the struggle of other unions, in particular other COSATU affiliated unions. On the Communication Workers Union and the House strikes, the CEC offer its full support to the workers at the SABC who are pushing back against retrenchment under the leadership of our affiliate union, COO, and other unions in the institution. SABC is too important an institution to allow the reactionary board members and managers to guard like we have seen other state institutions. If we are to have a developmental state and have a participatory democracy, SABC needs to be strengthened and not to be weakened. We also offer total support to community health workers who are currently on strike under the leadership of our affiliate NIHAO. The unity and the resilience of these workers is commendable and exemplary. We call on our employers to accede to the fair and legitimate demand of these workers. On the October 7th strike, the CEC recognized that our program of action was groundbreaking from a political point of view, as it brought together for the first time workers across trade union federation, marking an important step for the unit of workers. Workers heeded the call, and we shall build on this going forward. On the May Day celebration will continue to be decentralized all across the country, with a national celebration taking place in the Northwest Province. On the bargaining conference, retrenchment and the toolkit, the Watershed Collective Bargaining Organizing and Campaign Conference held on the 11th to the 13th November 2020 produced a strategic directive for our bargaining, organizing and campaign strategies moving forward. The conference noted the challenges faced by the collective bargaining, both in the public and private sectors, and resolved that bargaining council must be strengthened to grapple with the challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. With many jobs on the line, the conference resolved to develop a retrenchment toolkit that will ensure retrenchment are indeed the last resort for companies. On the public service, the meeting once again praised the sterling work done by the public sector workers to not just fight COVID-19, but to continue to deliver the much needed services, even as they suffer from unwarranted attacks by the current administration. The failure to pay workers their increases and the proposed wage freeze is an insult to these workers. Collective bargaining is a constitutional right, yet this government has gone out on its way to undermine it by abandoning the legally binding agreement and trying to unilaterally impose a wage freeze until 2024. This indifferent attitude will have a huge political cost during the next year local government election. Underpaying public servants will simply spare a brain drain of highly sought after doctors, nurses, teachers, and further weaken the state capacity to deliver quality public service. On the proposed action plan on the 4th of December 2020, in defense of the collective bargaining in the public service and the private sector, the CC resolved to immediately undertake the following step. 1. The CC will lead a protest action or sit-in at the Union Building on the 4th December 2020 to demand a response from the Presidency on the memorandum submitted on the 7th October 2020. This includes the call for government lead to lead by example by complying with the ILO Convention and respect collective bargaining. We shall write to the ILO urging it to immediately register the protest with the South African government's breach of Convention 154, the right to organize and collective bargaining convention, and Convention 87 on the freedom of association. The ILO must demand some level of accountability from the South African government. All our provincial structure will continue holding demonstration and line time pickets at the department, institution, and workplace where memoranda were submitted. The CC further condemned BUSA for its anti-worker stance in demanding that government freeze public sector wages. On the socio-economic, on the impact of the austerity budget cuts, in dealing with this current crisis, the South African government has resorted to increasing austerity measures, and as a result, inequality has widened. The increase in inequality means working families' purchasing power is significantly diminished. The recent midterm budget policy statement has continued on this trajectory. This posture of government threatens to lead South Africa into a deeper depression, which will make attempts to resuscitate the economy virtually impossible. These austerity measures taken by Treasury also threatens key labor as well as other state institutions like Hawks, as well as the Office of the Public Protector. Specifically worrying for COSATU are the budget cuts in the CCMA. This cut has been so severe that CCMA is struggling to deliver on its legislated mandate. Already the CCMA is starting to feel the impact with its capacity reduced, including closing offices for walk-in cases and conciliation cases. This is taking place as workers are already experiencing a wave of retrenchment, salary cuts, and other labor abuses. They will now be faced with a massive reduced CCMA that will be so starved of resources that will be unable to help thousands of frustrated workers. The Federation has raised this at Parliament and will be requesting an urgent meeting with the National Treasury to demand that this cut be reversed. We demand a budget that will be responsive to the needs of the workers and the poor. On the state-owned enterprises, the CEC expressed concerns about the continued deterioration of the state-owned enterprises. Many of our SOEs are in varying stages of collapse. We're disappointed that the Presidential State-Owned Enterprise Council is yet to present any convincing plan to reposition or to stabilize the state-owned enterprises. The fact that very little has been done to fix these issues raised by the Auditor General and that some of these institutions like the SABC are pushing for retrenchment is offensive and scandalous. Government needs to work with labor and business to develop clear roadmaps to take these SOEs out of the ICU, reposition them to adjust to the changes taking place in their sectors, and enable them to get back on a sustainable trajectory. Retrenching workers cannot be accepted. The current government will not throw thousands of workers onto the unemployment line. Alternative must be found for workers whose jobs are at risk. On ESCOM Social Compact, the meeting welcomed the adoption of the ESCOM Social Compact as a key part of the comprehensive package of economic recovery intervention. We call on social partners to sign it and start the implementation process in order to save jobs. On the economic recovery plan, the CEC resolved to further unpack the economic recovery plan at the Federation's February CEC. COSATU in the interim will engage the implementation of the plan at the Economic Recovery Leadership Team in Network. On corruption and wasteful expenditure, the CEC called for more arrests and conviction of criminals who continue to steal inside and outside the government, and that no one is above the law. We reiterate our call for centralization of the public procurement of large items, introduction of online open public procurement platform, the establishment of rapid response anti-corruption courts, and most critically, the banning of politically exposed persons and their spouses and children from doing business with the state. The outright hostility by government to the latter is indicative of a leadership that has lost its moral compass. On COVID-19, the meeting expressed concern over the notable rise in the COVID-19 infection and called on all South Africans to continue to take this deadly virus seriously. This is not time to be complacent, because any reckless behavior put both the lives and the economy at risk. Welcome the extension of the 315 long-term unemployment grant, and we hope that will lay a foundation for adoption of the basic income grant. On politics, on the ANC and the MDR in crisis, the Central Executive Committee concluded that our national democratic revolution has entered a difficult period. The epicenter of these major challenges is within the ANC, that is marrying corruption scandals, public bickering, and is gradually experiencing declined support amongst the people. The meeting lamented the poor state of organizational and personal discipline in the ranks of the ANC and the lack of decisive action by elected officials. The ongoing challenges of unity and cohesion, especially among leadership at all levels of the organization and between the organizational leadership and those deployed in government, is a problem. The lack of political will and decisive strategic leadership in implementing the more challenging socio-economic resolution from the Nasrec conference is deeply worrying. This, combined with the austerity measures that are being implemented by the administration, has put the NDR in a precarious position. On the ANC-NGC, we have noted the release of the ANC-NGC documents, and we shall convene a political commission to help us to develop a posture on the ANC-NGC document and respond comprehensively. The political commission will also help us to develop a minimum program going forward. This mid-term evaluation is important, and it should focus and respond to the pressing organizational challenges, especially on socio-economic policies. We remain hopeful that the NGC will signal a turning point with regard to the internal discipline, decisiveness on the leadership on organizational and socio-economic political matters, the fight against corruption, relations with other components of the alliance, and in taking forward the mandate of Nasrec. On the Alliance Summit, the CC is looking forward to a great Alliance Summit that was decided by the Alliance Political Council, and we hope it will take place before the local government election next year. This summit is necessary to discuss the content and the character of the National Democratic Revolution. The current implementation of austerity measures reflect a troubling development and what amounts to a strategic deviation. Therefore, the nature of the contradiction is increasingly becoming more than just tactical and political issues. To some extent, they've become strategic and class contradiction that also relate to the ideological contestation of the content and objective of the NDR. We view this attack on collective bargaining and suppression of trade union activity as a way of using a crisis to break the spine of the trade union and reverse the Nasrec policy outcome. These attacks are evident both in the public and private sector. However, the fact that it is a democratic government led by a liberation movement that is part of our own alliance perpetrating these attacks make the case even more shameful. In this regard, the CEC warned that the ANC movement is abandoning or dishonoring the Freedom Charter, and it is involved in the erosion of the hard-won democratic gain since 1994. The Freedom Charter says there shall be work and security, and all who work shall be free to form a trade union, to elect their officers, and to make wage agreement with their employers. The same is contained in the RD document, which we are quoting here below. Despite the occasional rhetoric around radical economic transformation, the country is now being handed over to neoliberal Western institutions like the IMF, the World Bank, etc. What we are seeing now is the ANC and its government spitting on the workers and going wrong. This is a development that will not only undermine our national self-determination as a country, but will put into question the ANC historical commitment to a progressive and transformatory vision. Workers demand and deserve answers about this direction of the ANC government that is starting to wage an offensive against workers through retrenchment and wage freezes. This cannot be tolerated because aspirations of the workers and the working class have to be reflected in the ANC government. If it rejects or dishonors this aspiration, it is treating the very foundation of the alliance and making redundant and unnecessary. Given the political significance of 2021, COSATU shall be convening its Central Committee and provincial congresses as per our constitutional obligation to assess, clarify, and deepen our perspective as we finalize a clear way forward regarding many challenges facing workers. Towards that end, COSATU shall be reviewing its medium-term program, formerly known as 2015 Plan, and its economic document, the Growth Path to Full Employment, as a key cornerstone guiding our approach to many complex issues we face. The CEC was brief about the development in Limpopo and support the position taken by our provincial structure there, and will be engaging the alliance partners on the way forward. On the delay legislation, the PIC Amendment Bill and the Political Party Funding Act, the CEC expressed concern by the increasing tendency by the President and his executive towards undermining Parliament. Parliament has passed several important bills, only for the Presidency to simply ignore them or for the Department to delay indefinitely their implementation. This will lead us to a constitutional crisis. If the President does not want to sign a bill, he must refer back to Parliament. But he can only do so if the bill is unconstitutional or the public participation processes were undermined. Parliament passed the Public Investment Corporation Amendment Bill in March 2019 and the Political Party Funding Bill in 2018. To date, the President has signed the PIC bill, has not signed the PIC bill, Amendment Bill, yet it is critical. It is a critical intervention towards dealing with the massive allegation of corruption and the PIC, at the PIC during the era of the state capture. The President signed the Political Party Funding Bill, but failed to announce a commencement date. We are now approaching the local government election. Government cannot be allowed to continue to undermine Parliament. The Presidents must move with speed to the signing and acting and implementation of the legislation. That is not the virtue. Thank you very much, Comrade CEO.
Thank you, Nopal. Comrades, that was our very short statement.